Yeah, sure, sir. So, I'm gonna touch the topics which we did not discuss, and my title for this is actually a question which I want you to think upon. Are social networks like Facebook and MySpace bringing us closer together or making us less social? More than 175 million people use Facebook. If it were a country, it would be the sixth most populated country in the world. It is said by Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. Some prominent examples of social media, as we all know, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Wikipedia, etc. How they are affecting and how social media is an agent of socialization. Now, I'm going to discuss that. As we all know, the primary and secondary agents of socialization, which has been replaced by social media. The influence of social media has taken place and playing the agent of parents and peer groups, and everything is replaced. The culture, awareness, and what a child used to learn from parents and peer groups and his own her culture is now all learned by social media. Effects, I'm gonna skip on that. Social media is now more about sociology and psychology more than technology. How Facebook is affecting, nobody can deny that sites like Facebook have altered the landscape of social interaction, especially among young people. Social phobia and cyber culture. These are the two topics we haven't discussed earlier. How social phobia is affecting youngsters. It is further leading to internet addiction and the problematic internet use. I'll come to the conclusion part, how social phobia and cyber culture is affecting. We all know that cyber culture is way more influential nowadays. Young people who are more used to this way of socializing because they never knew a world without it, may be at disadvantage. A time will come, I think, where there will be a death of socialization and face-to-face interactions, and we will get used to it. They may not learn how to behave in a way that is socially acceptable in our society. People are so busy, as we all know these days, that it is difficult to maintain. Like many modern conveniences and technology, social internet sites are both a blessing and a curse. We can keep in touch with people no matter where in the world they are, meet new people and gain new information and perspectives on the world. On the other hand,
today's time, media, both mass and social, plays a vital role in framing the thoughts of society. The medium of medias acting as a bridge between the government and people. With the efforts of media, people are coming together irrespective of their caste or religion and raising their voice against the social issues. The biggest example of this is Damini rape case of Delhi. People from all over the country came together and blew the whistle for justice. Even the people from different countries mourned. Similarly, Narendra Modi, who became Prime Minister after winning the election, here media played a very important role in convincing voters by showing his previous work as Chief Minister of Gujarat and his background Narendra Modi comes from. Recent example is of Hardik Patel, who was asking for the reservation for the Patidars in Gujarat and was opposed by the whole of India. Another example is of Sukhwinder Singh, who is popularly known as Radhe Ma, because of just one case filed on her and that being bought out by the media in front of the public of India. People who were afraid to come up against her raised their voice. Anna Hazare's Lokpal bill is another example which drew a huge crowd out of their houses and to raise the voice against the prevailing system in the government. Media also focuses on programs like Ganga Swachhata Abhiyan that is running under the supervision of Ms. Uma Bharti, Minister of Water Resources in India. Media also played a huge role in the upliftment of yoga among people. With the conversation between Narendra Modi and Mark Zuckerberg, people get to know about Neem Karoli Baba, who lives in Nainital and had an incredible role behind the success of Mark Zuckerberg. Media brought that person in front who was not known before. At last, we conclude that media, mass as well as the social media, both of them are playing splendid roles in making societies aware. Media have it. Sir, I'm just concluding. I just want to share one thing. I want to add one more thing here. Yesterday it was very precious day. On the same date, a very charismatic person was born approx 146 years ago, Mahatma Gandhi. Yesterday, the Chief Minister of Bihar, Mrs. Rabri Devi, was asked that आप इस गांधी जयंती के पावन अवसर पर क्या कहना चाहेंगी लोगों से? तो she replied that गांधी जी को हमका तरफ से बधाइयाँ. So here, media is also making us aware that how much unaware our leaders are. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for organizing this seminar on social transformation and media, realities and challenges, and particularly this session, role of media in shaping public opinion. I am a very poor convener or a chairperson for a seminar like this. When I started teaching in '68 at the University of Rajasthan as a young lecturer, immediately after my PhD, I had to face only girl students at Maharani's College of Rajasthan University. And I was really trembling. And the students also, the girls, scared me. They were final year students of the college. But from the second day onwards, this gave me a lot of strength. And after that, it never happened in my life. So I'm happy to be here with young female participants particularly. Yes, there are some male members also. We have 16 presentations, 14 plus 2. And I'm happy that the two resource persons, Professor Modi and Professor Barrett, made very important points. In fact, media as corporations, particularly in the context of neoliberalism, and the point which Barrett also made more or less on the similar lines, that there was a time when media was a matter of philanthropy, that business houses contributed to its growth and development, and now it's no more so. And probably in some way he was talking about without using Marxism, but there were undercurrents of that kind of understanding with regard to the role of media. I'll just take 5 to 6 minutes because I thought, I remember P.C. Joshi committee on Doordarshan, and Professor Joshi was known to me personally also, and some members of that committee, which I think Indira Gandhi had appointed that committee. And that was the first committee on Doordarshan. At that time, there were no other channels, TV channels, and it was Joshi committee that highlighted how Doordarshan has to become social in nature. It must take up the social issues and people, their problems, the contradictions, the tendencies of cooperation, and without that probably Doordarshan would not be a successful venture. Now today we are talking, what happened today, this morning I think, that the journalists were not allowed to be there in the Dadri town of UP. They were putted out because they were creating nuisance, and politicians were taking advantage of that, the episode which has taken place regarding beef eating. And therefore we have to understand very clearly the meaning of media, of social media, of digital media, of IT, of SMS, of email, video conferencing, tweeting, role of technology in media. I think a media trial has been happening there in this country, and probably sometimes they punish much more than the Supreme Court of India to a person or individual or to an organization. This is happening. Other day I spoke in a program on ETV, what is known as Janmanch. Professor Barrett was also there in one of these programs. And I think judiciary is becoming more and more a legislative agency, a legislative body in this country. Why this is happening? We should ask the young scholars, particularly who made presentations today, should ask these basic questions, that why this is happening. Executive has become practically a parliament, a prime ministerial form of agency. Executive, I mean cabinet. Now why this is happening? And the media is not raising this issue. Sometimes some political parties make a nuance about this, but that's all. Beyond that, there is nothing. Legislature has become a mouthpiece of political parties or lobbies of the political parties and organizations. And why this is happening? And this happened in the last session itself. Now, therefore, I think these are the basic questions, basic structural questions about Indian state and society. And we cannot ignore these issues. So media, in my opinion, the title of the seminar should have been not social transformation and media, but media and social transformation. What kind of social transformation media is bringing about in this country? The country which is a mosaic, which is highly differentiated, regionally, socially, economically, between village and town, between small town and big town, between metropolises and the state capitals. So all sorts of things are there. I have raised this question earlier in some of the meetings. Whose newspapers are there? Who was Ramnath Goenka? Indian Express, he owned. And he was dead against the government of the day. Arun Shourie was the chief editor at that time. And he started with what is known as investigative journalism, and now it has become a common thing now. It has taken a vulgar shape today in this country, somehow, unfortunately. Therefore, one should know what is ST, Hindustan Times, or Times of India. Who are the people who are controlling? And you rightly, madam, raised this point. I think this is who are controlling the masjids. India Today. What is India Today? And what is that fortnightly magazine? Frontline. What kind of ideology it is pursuing? What kind of news are highlighted? What kind of news are ignored? Sidelined. I think these are whose TV channels, rightly this question was raised, by political leaders, by business tycoons, by industrialists, and by those who pay money also to their new channels. Therefore, I think one has to make a difference with regard to information, hidden truth and background, reality, and then analysis. And appearance is not essence. Now I think the essence has to be known, and probably, where is Shamlal today? I mean, I used to read editorials of Shamlal in Times of India with care, because it was full of philosophy, full of nationalist point of view. Now people used to quote the academic Shamlal's editorial in their serious academic writings. Now, how many editors we are quoting today in our academic discourses? This is the question. And his articles were highly quoted, highly cited. I think, or Dilip Padgaonkar, or Inder Malhotra. I think I can name any number of them, but that was the kind of Arun Shourie at one time for investigative journalism. Later on, he became a different kind of animal altogether. Therefore, crime reporting, trial making, all these, is media only for Sas Bahu syndrome, or that it is or for family drama, or for entertainment, or for extramarital relations, which are often highlighted, and most of these, step mothers, step fathers, step sisters, brothers, and the tribulations in the family, and all these things are therefore, or deceit and cheating, or as somebody said, regional culture or regional media. Media has made some important contributions. I think the sellability should be taken into consideration. Sellability, even social science has been made sellable in the United States of America. And some of the scholars, I don't know, some of you maybe have heard that Horowitz was one, Louis Irving Horowitz, who raised this point that there is a important section of social science in United States who are selling social science. They are not doing social science, serious social science. Now, I think, so therefore, the question is media serious about opinion making on social justice, on human rights, on poor and downtrodden, etc., on values which are enshrined in the Constitution of India? I think these are the issues, not the ads, not, I mean, sellability. I mean, and for whom the ads are there? As somebody said, 2% who have the problem here. So therefore, how much, and now this is a big news that Salman Khan earns maximum his film, or Amitabh Bachchan comes now first and he was second or third, or Shah Rukh Khan, or Akshay Kumar. I think this is not what media should do. I think there are some very basic issues. In my view, this is trivialization of media. I mean, so opinion making about what? That's the question. Opinion making about whom? Why opinion making? Is it the responsibility of the media? If it is yes, then what kind of opinion making it should do? Now, so I think one has to go into the history right from computerization. We started in the 80s, early 80s, and then later on, and 90s. So for transforming, for transparency and justice, I think one has to think whose transformation. I mean, social transformation, but after all, whose how much we have transformed through, we have been transformed through media. There should be a measurement. There should be a way to know it. I mean, in what sections, in what sphere people have been transformed. What is that you exactly know because of the media, or because of your education in the classroom, or because of your family background, or because of something else, or because of your heritage, parentage. Now, so therefore, what sort of transformation is very important, and media, I think, is a double-edged means. And some of you have rightly said positive and negative consequences of media. Sometimes, why double-edged? Panchayat, there are reports, there are crime reports. Now, you come to know, and when you come to know, you do something wrong. You come to know, and you know how to escape about it. I mean, undue emphasis on some of these things also created problems. Therefore, I think last point, which I will not take your time, you must be hungry and tired also. Ramchandra Guha, in the most popular book, India After Gandhi, has said that ultimately there are 4 R's which are important, and they must be seen carefully, critically in this country, whether by media, by the people, or the public, and these are the rights, adhikar, riots, dange, sampradayak dange. Third, rulers, who rules, Shashak, at different levels, right from the village up to the national level, and the riches, the rich people, and all sorts of rich people in different contexts and situations. So with these words, I stop, and I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I also thank all the speakers who have made very important points regarding public opinion, based on films, on censorships, on breaking news, on electronic media, on populism, on trivialization, on glamorization, on regional media, media brokers, and so on and so forth. I think all these points are important. Organizers, as I said, should have one full day for presentations by young students and scholars. And thank you once again. Thank you.
Several books such as Sahitya Parampara or Naya Rachnakar, Samvad Nirantar, and Sanskriti Jansanchar or Bazaar. He has written a number of short stories and novels. Jheel Par Havi Raat and Hari Dhoop Ka Sapna are some of his famous poetry collections. He has also been the editor of various dailies weekly and monthly journals and publications. He was awarded by Rajasthan Graduates National Service Association, Mumbai in 1975 for his poetry collection Andhar Pak.
Namaskar. Media plays a crucial role in covering promotion, education and dissemination of information. Media, as an educator, informer and entertainer, is capable in shaping attitudes and values. Media has a power in building a universal, harmonious global society. Media ethics, also termed as press ethics, reflect the society and the regulations shape the media system. The ethical standards and the code of conduct media practitioners should actually abide by is an ongoing and incessant debate. Media professionals face a range of ethical issues every now and then. These issues are related to truthfulness, sensationalism, authenticity, and appropriateness of content served, etc. Moreover, the last half decade has seen the decline in the media standards. Various reasons can be attributed: the change in the media structure, ownership, commercialization of media, unethical practice like paid news is flourishing and is not questioned by the bodies like PCI. Adding to this, lack of training given to the journalists is another cause of concern. Sensationalism and trivialization has overtaken ethics. The news has become a commodity. News whole is increasing day by day as advertisements are overlapping news space-time. Moreover, importance is given to the unimportant issues rather than issues of social concern which can benefit the society at a large level. It is the need of the hour that media fraternity should maintain standards of decency at each and every step. The professional's journalistic ethics are concerned with a whole range of political, social, environmental, economic and developmental issues of public concern. Honesty and integrity in media coverage, objectivity, freedom of speech and expression should be taken care of. The media practitioners must therefore remain sensitive to the issues such as fairness, accountability and accuracy and protect the sanctity of media. This technical session 5th, Media and Ethics, proposes to explain the role of media as a fourth estate of democracy. This is an attempt to bring out different perspectives of ethics through various papers and studies. This session will illustrate how media professionals can apply a variety of methods for enforcing and implementing ethical behavior. To conclude, I would like to quote some lines. Kalam kismat, kalam asmat, kalam shringar likhti hai. Kalam karuna, kalam hasid, kalam vyavhar likhti hai. Kalam kavya, kalam vivran, kalam sanskar likhti hai. Kalam kalam, kalam kalidas, kalam karmodhar likhti hai. Kalam akar, kalam nirakar, kalam malhar likhti hai. This is the power of pen, this is the power of media. I now request Honorable Chairperson to take over the technical session 5th. Thank you.
Now I will request the other participants to come out with their presentations. Mr. Deepak Pari, the IAS university student, is here. Yes. Deepak Pari.
Serves the important purpose of communication. The three basic needs fulfilled by media are information, knowledge, and entertainment. It affects the economic, social, and political outlook of the people of a country. With the growth of media, the awareness of the public is also increasing. Media can be stated to be an index of development. The greater the use of media, the greater the awareness and development. Media is essential as it enables people to learn about issues and also allows people to speak out their mind. It helps the people to get involved in development strategies, understand them and present their views on them. Economic development refers to qualitative and quantitative changes in an economy. It applies to the developing economies which need much more than just economic growth, which is an increase in the gross national product. Economic development includes development of human capital, an increase in the literacy rate, a reduction in poverty, and other areas that aim to increase the welfare of the people. In a democratic setup, the media informs the vigilant public about the policies of the government. For the smooth working of an economy, it is important that the public understands and trusts the government. The coordination between the two is very important, and the media acts as a link which reduces the conflict between the government and the public. Human capital, which includes health and education, plays an important role in economic development. Media, to a large extent, helps in the development of human capital. It helps to spread information and awareness about these two components of human capital, not only in the urban areas but also in the rural areas. The agricultural sector is an important sector for the development of a nation. In the developing economies, due to lack of awareness and knowledge of the latest technological advancement, the farmers use obsolete technology. Moreover, the farmers are not aware of the requirements of the market and the ongoing prices. The media helps the farmers to update the knowledge and understand the market conditions. It helps in the dissemination of information, which helps the farmers to adopt the improved agricultural practices. Another very important help provided to the farmers by the media is weather forecasting. One of the major problems faced by a developing economy is that of unemployment. India today is enjoying the benefits of demographic dividend, but if we want to make use of this dividend, creation of employment is essential. The media has been growing, and as a result, the employment creation by media is also growing. The most important assumption in economics is that man is rational and works only for self-interest and will take a decision which will benefit only himself. The media is a form of business where profit maximization, which indicates self-interest, is in conflict with ethical considerations. The media, in order to enjoy profits, starts adopting unethical means of reporting. News that is sponsored by manipulation by politicians and business houses for their vested interests. Paid news has become common, where the channels are paid by politicians, are paid money by politicians, businessmen and others to give a particular news or not to give a particular news. As a consequence, what comes before the public is information which has personal interests in the guise of news. Wrong information is provided to the public through news, discussions and advertisements, which can have a harmful effect on the public at large and the working of the economy. Sometimes such information can lead to problems like artificial scarcity, inflation, distress selling and hoarding. Therefore, the media can act as a catalyst and can also slow down the pace of economic development. It works in an ethical manner if it will help in the development of the economy. If it needs to regulate itself so as not to play an unethical role, failing which the government will have to take a firm step of regulating the media. Thank you.
Good afternoon everyone, Namaskar. I would like to present my paper titled Entertainment with a Purpose, with the references of a few films of director Shankar, who predominantly works in Tamil film industry. Cinema, which is one of the biggest industry of India, it is a century and a few years old, and a very powerful medium of mass communication. It is very influencing for the society, which our Swargiya Jawaharlal Nehru also agreed by stating in one of his speeches that the influence in India of films is greater than newspapers and books combined. Celebrity culture is a term related with cinema, which is the non-famous looking up to the famous as their role models. They like them, love them, follow them, and even worship them. And like any other relationship should be, it also should be a give and take relationship, which is very well understood by director Shankar and implemented in his work. He's a master of visual art movies, where the protagonists can go to any extent in order to bring positive change in the society. He combines two very different in present scenario, while earlier they used to go hand in hand, two different genres, entertainment and socially relevant themes in his work, and his storyline very beautifully and impactfully. we take the example of 3 of his very impactful movies. Firstly, Hindustani, which tells the story of a former freedom fighter who turns vision on in order to root out the corruption which he refers to be as Kharpatwar, hampering the growth and prosperity of his motherland. Next is Aparachit, which is about a person, a common man, very frustrated and helpless in front of the ills of the society. He develops a multiple personality disorder. And one of the characters he develops in himself goes on the quest of eradicating the mal from the society by punishing the people of their sins with death penalties mentioned in Garud Puran, which is, by the way, an ancient holy body of text. Lastly, we talk about Shivaji the Boss. The Boss tagline of the movie, where the Boss is an abbreviation for Bachelors of Social Services, which very well describes the movie itself. It is about an NRI dreaming of reforming his mother country on return to India. Again, he is hampered with corruption, and instead of choosing an easy way out of indulging himself in the wrong or just leaving the country, he decides to fight back, staking his life, and finally achieves the goal of making his country a powerful and developed country by bringing back the black money, which is a huge concern of our country right now. All of these 3 films, here people are staking the lives of their loved ones and themselves, but would never settle for the corruption or the mal of the society to bring about a positive change, which everyone should do. They are asking the people to be the change they want from the society. Finally, we can conclude that cinema is a very powerful tool. Because of its audio-visual entity, it can be used in variety to influence the society. It is very powerful, again, still in today's scenario where social media is blooming to its fullest. I think still cinema is the most powerful because you don't have to be illiterate to understand it, while other way around. Today, presently in India, illiteracy is also a main concern, where being illiterate just means that you can sign your name. Where in logical world, literacy should be defined in a more meaningful manner. The other positive attributes and contribution of cinema towards the society are already being noted in my PowerPoint presentation, and many direct or indirect examples of social transformation through media were discussed in earlier 2 sessions today. Also, I would like to quote that I'm sorry. Finally, I would like to say that positive or negative, the impacts of media bringing about a social transformation can be seen in our daily life, in the way we dress, we speak, we eat, and a very long list continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Chaitanya just spoke about the films of Shankar, in which he might have tried to
conduct should be in accordance with the current ways. The press should change its role with the changing role of government and its relationship with the people. The role media ought to play has been regulated by Press Council of India. At the end of the paper, I would like to say about the more powers being given to the PCI will be a question of debate. An attempt has been made to bring different perspectives of ethics, which comprises views of Aristotle, Machiavelli, Immanuel Kant, J.S. Mill, Rawls, and Mahatma Gandhi. Media acts as a disseminator of the information, a guide of communication. It educates people by giving the wealth of information. It is entrusted with the task of teaching the people about rights and creating understanding on various serious issues and problems related to the society. It helps in bringing the small sections of the society to the mainstream. In the public sphere to develop the public opinion, shaping public debate and making the government answerable to the people. It gives a communication link between individuals and groups. Media acts as the guardian of public by safeguarding them against the access of public officials. Views of famous writers like Richard Cable, the newspaper handbook in his book, and historian Thomas Babington Macaulay in 1859, Dan Lewin defines media as technologies that spread the messages to the mass in different parts of region, country and the world. At the same time, the paper focuses on the relationship between the media and the people, which by itself evaluates media performance and freedom enjoyed by the media. Throughout the world, the press system of our country differs from the others similarly to the ethical standards. Press ethics reflects the society and the regulations that shape the press system. The ethical standards and the code of conduct media practitioners should actually abide by is an ongoing debate. The responsibility of the press has changed along with the changing role of the government and its relationship with the people. There are few fundamental ethical standards which most people agree like accuracy, fairness, balance, truth and objectivity. In Indian perspective, according to Mahatma Gandhi, the sole aim of the journalism should be the service. According to Shakuntala Rai and Navjeet Singh Johal, the erosion of credibility and confidence in the media is often related to the public perception that the media ship is sailing without the moral compass. Various reasons can be attributed for the decline of media standards. Firstly, the state of our institutes of higher education, the poor quality of education imparted by the institutes have brought down media standards. Secondly, lack of training given to the journalist is another cause of concern because along with a degree, skills also contribute to the personality development of media practitioners. Thirdly, change in media structure and ownership commercialization of media is amongst the several factors which has led to the decline in ethical standards because unethical practices like paid news is not questioned. Finally, the analysis of this paper is that the media carries some social responsibility. With the help of media, number of issues like terrorism, improving international relationship, eradicating poverty, solving the problem of unemployment, creating awareness among the people on the issues of concern and other solution to all these problems could be found as media could do wonders. Free and a responsible press. If this phrase is to be true in spirit and form, media is expected to follow the ethical standards while reporting, and at the same time media should be provided with the basics of maintaining ethical standards. As far as PCI is concerned, it enjoys limited powers and therefore it must be given power to keep the media prompt by empowering it to punish those found guilty of violating the norms of journalistic conduct. Thank you so much.
Across innumerable images and commercials for various products. This excessive amount of media in our day-to-day life cannot be sidelined and impact all those surrounded by it. It is an expression of the society of which we are a part. Its mirror image for all practical purposes and has a far-reaching influence on the social, cultural and moral values of its inmates. The world is changing rapidly today and in its footsteps our core values are changing too. The last 2 decades on account of globalization have seen an unparalleled change which has expressed itself in form of the society is facing an unprecedented cultural aviation. Our society today is taking on new values which are logheads with the time-tested and religiously accepted principles of our society. a large part of the responsibility for which must be borne by the television commercials and also unethical practices of the business and corporate houses which sponsor them. Today, the reach of television is widespread. Commercial television channels have penetrated even the remotest of areas, and most adults are exposed to thousands of advertisements annually. It is thus natural for ramifications of the violations of ethics by TV commercials to be seen in our personal lives and also on the society as whole advertising. Nowadays, is big business and many industries like magazines, the cable CD industry, newspapers and many other media, non-media, communication industries survive only on the inflow of money due to advertising. It is because of this that corporate house use all possible tactics to get our attention, first money and ultimately. Sometimes these attempts involve illegal, dirty or underhand tricks, making untrue claims and reliance on false information. Of late, a number of debates have been going on about the social issues in advertising, and catastrophic consequences of improper advertising have been brought to the forefront. The social effects of improper advertising generally manifest themselves in form of an adverse effect on child psychology, human behavior, value system and perception, boost to materialism, rise of consumerism and corruption, decreased integrity of self-confidence of women and degradation of relationships in family. This study is an attempt to examine the extent to which these claims are true. Conclusion from the current research, it can be concluded that TV commercials undermine social and religious values, which leads to the deterioration of the moral fiber of the society. The prevalent ideologies which are loggerhead with Indian traditions and norms, and in doing that they impair them. They not only show disrespect towards integrity of cultures but also promote undesirable value schemes like materialism, consumerism, independent decision making, etc. Further, it can also be said that TV commercials abuse society by negatively influencing human behavior. Their adverse consequences are pervasive and can be seen in front of degradation of women, shaping of negative sexual attitudes and consumer discontent, loss of confidence, purchase of goods against and the will, and better judgment of customers and degradation of relationships in family. It may be of interest to point out here that findings of the current research are in tune with the findings of past studies. The conclusions of the past research advertisement promote materialism, exploit women, coerce viewers to buy unwanted products and mislead viewers, were found to be valid in the Indian context too, and thus reinforced. However, while strengthening the findings of previous research, the current research further builds upon them and provides evidence on how TV commercials influence, manipulate, and modify the behavior of individuals. A cue is thereby provided to the administrator to act firmly and timely check the unethical advertising practices by business and corporate houses. Thank you so much and have a good time.
And now,
as we know, with the fast growth of cyberspace, the growth of information society is accompanied by new and serious threats. When internet was invented, inventors did not think of its bad behavior, but the criminal mentality of human psychology started its misuse by using internet as a tool of crime, which gave the birth to cybercrime. And the world is facing a huge challenge from these cyber criminals. With the advent of technology, cybercrime and victimization of women are on the high, and it poses as a major threat to the security of a person as whole. Now, if we talk about cybercrime against women specifically, internet, the means that enable the free flow of information and ideas over long distances, also give rise to a worryingly high incidence of irresponsible behavior. The vulnerability and safety of women is one of the biggest concerns of any criminal and penal law. But unfortunately, women are still defenseless in cyberspace. Cybercrime against women is on an alarming stage, and it may pose as a major threat to the security of a person as a whole. Social networking and other websites are created and updated for many useful purposes, but they are nowadays also being used to circulate offensive contents also. individuals who post personal information about themselves on job and marriage websites or social networking websites are often at the receiving end of cybercrime. Women and minors who post their contact details become especially vulnerable. According to the data collected from the Financial Express 2012, as many as 80,000 cybercrime related complaints have been registered with police in Kerala in 2012, of which 50,000 relate to harassment of women through new high-tech devices. Now, if we talk about the type of cybercrime which a woman go through, the first is cyber stalking. Cyber stalking is one of the most widespread net crimes in modern world. The word stalking means pursuing steadily. Cyber stalking can be used interchangeably with online harassment and online abuse. It is the use of the internet or other electronic means to stalk or harass a person. The utilization of technology allows stalkers to harass their target from oceans away. It involves invading the privacy by following a person's movements across the internet by posting messages on the bulletin board, constantly bombarding the victim with messages and emails with abusive language. In cyber stalking, stalker access the victim's personal information like name, family background, telephone numbers, and daily routine of the victim and post them on the website related to the dating services with the name of the victim. Now, if we take a case study related to it, it is the Ritu Kohli case study, and this was considered as the first ever case study reported of cyber stalking in India. Now, the second one is cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is the use of information communications technology, particularly mobile phones and the internet, deliberately to upset someone. Cyberbullying is willful and repeated harm inflicted through the use of computer, cells, or other electronic devices by sending messages often intimidating or threatening nature. Cyberbullying comes in practice through Facebook, followed by Twitter, MySpace, and Instant Messenger. Now, third is morphing. Morphing is editing the original picture of an unauthorized user. When unauthorized user with fake identity downloads victim's picture and then uploads or reloads them after editing is known as morphing. And it is observed that females' pictures are downloaded from websites by fake users and then reposted, uploaded on different websites by creating fake profiles after editing them. Now, I would like to conclude that the growth of cybercrime in India, as all over the world, on the rise. Anybody who uses the internet is at risk for becoming a victim of cybercrime. Cyberspace offers a plethora of opportunities for cyber criminals either to cause harm to innocent people. In order to avoid the cybercrime, we should not engage in conversation with people we don't know. People on the other end of the computer may not be who they claim to be. We must keep our passwords protected and do not keep sensitive material on the computer as that can be accessed by the hacker. If anything seems out of place or wrong, contact law enforcement immediately. Indian women netizens are still not open to immediately report the cyber abuse or cybercrime. This nature provides the offenders the chance to escape from the commission of cybercrime. The problem would be solved only when the victimized women then and there report back or even warn the abuser about taking strong action. So please go forward and take actions against cybercrime. Thank you.
Now I have two
पत्रिकाओं
more.
के माध्यम से राजस्थान की कला और संस्कृति का संरक्षण और प्रचार। राजस्थान अपनी अभिन्न, अमूल्य व अक्षुण्ण कला व संस्कृति के लिए विश्व भर में जाना जाता है। रंग रंगीलो राजस्थान कथन राजस्थान की कला, साहित्य व संस्कृति को परिभाषित करता है। राजस्थान से प्रकाशित होने वाले पत्र पत्रिकाएं व अन्य प्रकाशन भी इसकी कला व संस्कृति के परिचायक हैं। साहित्यकारों, संगीतज्ञों, कला मर्मज्ञों से सृजित ये मरुभूमि आकर्षण का केंद्र है। राजस्थान की कला व संस्कृति को विश्व भर में पहुंचाने का श्रेय यहाँ से प्रकाशित हो रहे कुछ पत्रों व पत्रिकाओं को भी जाता है। इस पत्र के माध्यम से प्रदेश से प्रकाशित हो रही कुछ पत्रिकाओं पर एक दृष्टि। जलते दीप समूह की मासिक पत्रिका माणक जनवरी 1981 से राजस्थान की कला व संस्कृति को समर्पित है। राजस्थानी भाषा में प्रकाशित होने वाली यह पत्रिका यह एकमात्र पत्रिका है जो राजस्थान की संस्कृति, साहित्य, विरासत और प्रगति को प्रतिबिंबित करती है। मानद अलंकरण भी इसी समूह की ओर से 1961 से दिया जा रहा है। यह सम्मान कला, साहित्य व सांस्कृतिक क्षेत्र में उत्कृष्ट कार्य के लिए दिया जाता है। मानद टीवी भी इसी समूह का एक अंश है। राजस्थान से ही प्रकाशित अन्य पत्रिका मेरा राजस्थान एक हिंदी पत्रिका है, जो राजस्थान ही नहीं अपितु पूरे भारत में प्रसारित हो रही है। गहलोत प्रकाशन की इस पत्रिका का प्रमुख उद्देश्य राजस्थान की कला व संस्कृति से जुड़े पहलुओं पर चर्चा करना है। साथ ही यह पत्रिका राजस्थान के मेलों, त्योहारों के बारे में जानकारी देती है। इस पत्रिका में कलाविदों, संगीतज्ञों, शास्त्रीय व उपशास्त्रीय, लोक कलाकारों, साहित्यकारों, नाटककारों के साक्षात्कार समय समय पर प्रकाशित होते हैं। यह पत्रिका राजस्थान की सांस्कृतिक धरोहर को सहेजने का कार्य कर रही है। प्रदेश का अन्य प्रकाशन मूमल कला, साहित्य, संगीत व संस्कृति से जुड़ी पत्रिका है। यह पत्रिका संगीत समारोह, साहित्य समारोह व नाट्य प्रस्तुतियों को प्रमुखता से स्थान देती है। न केवल समाचार अपितु कला व सांस्कृतिक लेख, फीचर, समीक्षाएं व विश्लेषण प्रकाशित करती है। राजस्थान की कला व परंपरा को राजस्थान वासियों तक पहुंचाने का श्रेय मूमल को ही जाता है। इसी श्रृंखला में सिंपली जयपुर पत्रिका राजस्थान में आयोजित कला, संगीत, सिनेमा व थिएटर से जुड़े आयोजनों को प्रमुखता से प्रकाशित कर रही है। इसी प्रकार पर्यटन से जुड़ी एक अंग्रेजी पत्रिका द गोल्डन डेजर्ट पर्यटन के साथ साथ राजस्थान की कला व संस्कृति को पूरे विश्व में विख्यात कर रही है। पत्रिका राजस्थान की त्योहार, लोक कला, लोक संगीत, वास्तुकला व शिल्प कला, संस्कृति व खान-पान के बारे में विस्तृत जानकारी प्रकाशित कर रही है। इन पत्रिकाओं के माध्यम से पाठकों को राजस्थान को निकट से जानने का मौका तो मिलता ही है, साथ ही प्रदेश की कला व संस्कृति प्रचारित भी हो रही है। परंतु राजस्थान से प्रकाशित हो रही इन पत्रिकाओं की पाठक संख्या अधिक नहीं है। युवा पाठकों के साथ साथ अन्य आयु वर्ग के पाठकों तक भी ये पत्रिकाएं नहीं पहुंच पा रही हैं। इसकी तुलना में यहाँ से प्रकाशित प्रमुख समाचार पत्रों की पाठक संख्या अधिक है। यह भी सत्य है कि कला व साहित्य से जुड़ी पत्रिकाओं की संख्या भी कम है। आवश्यकता है कि इस तरह की पत्रिकाएं अधिक संख्या में प्रकाशित हों और राजस्थान के हर पाठक तक पहुंचे। इन पत्रिकाओं को जन जन तक पहुंचाने के लिए प्रकाशकों व संपादकों को विचार करना होगा। इसके लिए राजस्थान सरकार व कला, सांस्कृतिक संगठनों व प्रतिष्ठानों को सहयोग करना होगा। इससे निश्चित ही पत्रिकाओं की पाठक संख्या में बढ़ोतरी होगी। अंत में मैं यही कहना चाहूंगी कि राजस्थान की समृद्ध व सुगढ़ कला व संस्कृति को प्रचारित करने के लिए पत्रिकाएं बड़ा योगदान दे रही हैं। कला व संस्कृति की विभिन्न विधाओं को उजागर करने के साथ साथ विलुप्त हो रही कला विधाओं को भी प्रचारित करने का श्रेय इन पत्रिकाओं को ही जाता है।
धन्यवाद रुचि गोस्वामी। आपने राजस्थान की
कला व संस्कृति का दर्पण है। मीडिया किसी भी देश की सामाजिक, आर्थिक और राजनीतिक स्थिति को ही परिलक्षित नहीं करता, अपितु उसमें परिवर्तन व सुधार को भी प्रोत्साहित करता है। आधुनिक विज्ञान एवं तकनीकी प्रगति के कारण आई सूचना क्रांति ने न केवल मीडिया की शक्ति, सत्ता एवं भूमिका में वृद्धि की है, बल्कि उसके अनेक नए नए आयामों का भी उद्घाटन किया है। आज सामाजिक, राजनीतिक, सांस्कृतिक, आर्थिक आदि जीवन का कोई भी क्षेत्र ऐसा नहीं है जहाँ मीडिया की पहुँच न हो। मीडिया शिक्षा और सूचना प्रदान करने के साथ साथ मनोरंजन का भी एक सशक्त माध्यम बनकर उभरा है। मीडिया सामान्य जन को अपने अधिकारों व कर्तव्यों के साथ साथ समानता, स्वतंत्रता तथा न्याय जैसे विषयों के प्रति जागरूक करने में भी महती भूमिका निभा रहा है। भारतीय समाज में प्रारंभ से ही मीडिया का मूल चरित्र मिशनवादी रहा है, जैसे सामाजिक सुधार, नारी उत्थान, स्वभाषा, राष्ट्रीय जागरण, आध्यात्मिक उत्थान, साम्राज्यवाद का विरोध आदि। मीडिया का प्रमुख कार्य है आम जनता तक सही सूचनाएं सही समय पर पहुंचाना, ताकि वह अपना निर्णय स्वयं कर सके। मीडिया से निर्भीकता और सत्यनिष्ठा की जो उम्मीदें की जाती है, इस कारण कि वह जन सामान्य के प्रति अपनी प्रतिबद्धता से विचलित न हो। पर आज देखने में आ रहा है मीडिया अपने सामाजिक सरोकारों से दूर हो रहा है। समाचार पत्रों की दुनिया के दिन प्रतिदिन फैलते जाने के बावजूद उनके सरोकारों की दुनिया तेजी से सिकुड़ती प्रतीत हो रही है और पत्रकारिता की प्राणवान ऊर्जा धीरे धीरे निर्बल होती जा रही है। डॉक्टर गुलाब कोठारी ने अपने लेख संवेदनशील पत्रकारिता में इस स्थिति की ओर संकेत करते हुए लिखा है, कलम से जागरण का संकल्प, जन शिक्षा का अभियान, दिशा दिखाने की कोशिश और स्वयं की संतुष्टि के लिए आनंद देने वाला लेखन अब इतिहास की बात हो गया है। आज समाचार पत्रों की प्रकाशन, मुद्रण तथा वितरण के क्षेत्र में क्रांतिकारी परिवर्तन दिखाई दे रहा है। रंगीन प्रौद्योगिकी तथा लाखों की प्रसार संख्या के बावजूद आज पत्रकारिता का प्रभाव एवं विश्वसनीयता कम होती जा रही है। प्रेस की यह प्राणहीनता वर्तमान की सबसे बड़ी चुनौती है। आजादी से पूर्व सीमित संसाधनों, निरक्षरता तथा कम प्रसार के बावजूद पत्रकारिता ने राष्ट्रीय चेतना का व्यापक प्रसार किया। तत्कालीन पत्रकारिता ने स्वाधीनता आंदोलन का सफल नेतृत्व तक किया, पर वर्तमान पत्रकारिता का विस्तार भले ही बहुत बढ़ गया हो, उसकी प्राणवान ऊर्जा धीरे धीरे कमजोर हो रही है। पूंजी और व्यवसाय बुद्धि उसके अनिवार्य अंग हो गए हैं। पत्र के मालिक और संपादक के मध्य की यशस्वी परंपरा भी समाप्त होती जा रही है। जन सरोकारों से बढ़ती दूरियों की वजह से मीडिया लगातार प्रश्नों और आलोचनाओं के घेरे में है। हालांकि मीडिया में जन सरोकारों को लेकर चिंता बहुत पुरानी है, लगभग उतनी पुरानी जितनी की मीडिया है। उसकी भूमिका को लेकर संदेह भी तभी से प्रकट किए जाते रहे हैं। उसे लोकतंत्र में जनता के हथियार के बजाय पूंजीवाद के औजार के तौर पर देखा गया और माना गया कि जन सरोकारों से उसका संबंध न के बराबर है। हालांकि एक समानांतर कोशिश उसकी विश्वसनीयता स्थापित करने की भी होती रही। इसी का परिणाम था कि लोकतंत्र के चौथे स्तंभ के रूप में प्रचारित करना। यहाँ यह स्पष्ट करना आवश्यक है कि हम जब मीडिया की बात करते हैं तो मुख्य धारा का मीडिया होता है, जो कि कुल मीडिया का 90% से भी बड़ी हिस्सेदारी रखता है। हाशिए पर रहकर जन सरोकारों की बात करने वाले मीडिया को सामने रखकर मीडिया के चरित्र और चेहरे की बात नहीं की जा सकती है, क्योंकि उसका प्रभाव क्षेत्र बहुत ही सीमित होता है। पिछले 2-3 दशकों में स्थितियां तेजी से बदली हैं और यह लगभग आम सहमति बन गई है कि अगर मीडिया में कुछ भी जन सरोकार थे भी तो उन्हें भी उसने तिलांजलि दे दी है। मीडिया के जन सरोकारों से विलग होने की यह परिघटना भारत तक सीमित नहीं है, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर भी यही हो रहा है। विश्व भर में मीडिया से यही शिकायत की जा रही है कि वह मुनाफाखोर हो गया है, वो दूसरे उद्देश्यों से संचालित हो रहा है, उससे समाज की चिंता बिल्कुल नहीं रह गई है। मीडिया के सरोकार अब जनता के सरोकार न होकर बाजार के सरोकार हो गए हैं। आज टीवी चैनल टीआरपी से निर्देशित होते हैं। चैनलों की निर्णय प्रक्रिया के केंद्र में दर्शक नहीं उपभोक्ता होते हैं। इन उपभोक्ताओं को भी उनकी आय, क्रम क्षमता, रुचियों, अरुचियों, उम्र, लिंग आदि के आधार पर चुना जाता है। इस प्रक्रिया में मजदूर, किसान, गांव आदि से जुड़े मुद्दे बाहर हो जाते हैं। इससे उनके सरोकारों का दायरा सिकुड़ जाता है। सरोकारों में बदलाव की यह प्रक्रिया भारत में उपभोक्तावाद के आगमन के साथ ही शुरू हो गई थी। सन 1991 में भारत सरकार ने वैश्वीकरण, उदारीकरण और निजीकरण की दिशा में छलांग लगाई। इसी के साथ मीडिया का असंतुलित, अनावश्यक व सरोकार विहीन विस्तार भी शुरू हुआ। सरकारी नियंत्रण में चलने वाले जन माध्यम तमाम बुराइयों के बावजूद काफी हद तक इस बात का ध्यान रखते थे कि नकारात्मक चीजों को बढ़ावा न मिले। दर्शक संख्या बढ़ाना या ज्यादा मुनाफा कमाना उनका लक्ष्य नहीं था। इसलिए सामग्री में विविधता भी होती थी और विकृतियां अपेक्षाकृत बहुत कम होती थी। लेकिन जैसे ही मीडिया में निजी पूंजी की दिलचस्पी और प्रभाव पड़ा, परिदृश्य एकदम से बदलने लगा, जिसका सीधा असर जन सरोकारों पर पड़ा। सरोकारों से नाता टूटने की एक बड़ी वजह यह भी रही कि इस बीच ऐसे लोगों की मीडिया में संख्या एकदम से बढ़ती चली गई, जिनका मुख्य उद्देश्य मीडिया को मीडिया की तरह चलाना नहीं था, बल्कि उससे अपने व्यावसायिक, राजनीतिक और आपराधिक स्वार्थों की रक्षा करना था। इनमें बिल्डर, चिटफंड के कारोबारी, अपराधी और राजनीति से जुड़े लोग शामिल हैं, जिनका उद्देश्य मीडिया की शक्ति का इस्तेमाल करना था। इस दौर में संपादक नामक संस्था को समाप्त कर दिया गया, उन्हें प्रबंधक बना दिया गया और वे अखबारों का धंधा करने लगे, दलाल बन गए। भूत, प्रेत, चमत्कार आदि पर आधारित कार्यक्रमों की टीआरपी बनाने वाले निर्माता बन गए। मीडिया के पतन का यह सिलसिला अभी थामा नहीं है। मीडिया का कारपोरेटीकरण नए चरण में प्रवेश कर रहा है, जिसे कॉन्सोलिडेशन का नाम दिया गया है। मीडिया ऐसी आर्थिक नीतियों की खुलकर वकालत करने लगा है जिनसे कारपोरेट जगत के स्वार्थ सकते हैं। आर्थिक अपराधों की खोजबीन उससे होती नहीं और न ही उसके द्वारा पहुंचाए जा रहे देश की प्राकृतिक संपदा को नुकसान की ही उसे चिंता सताती है। उसे न तो गरीबी दिखती है, न आर्थिक विषमता और न ही बेरोजगारी। गरीबों, दलितों, आदिवासियों, महिलाओं और अल्पसंख्यकों जैसे कमजोर तत्वों के बारे में उसका रवैया उपेक्षा का हो गया है। मीडिया के स्वामित्व का मुद्दा इतना प्रबल और प्रभावशाली है कि उसे जन सरोकारों की अपेक्षा रखना एक तरह का छलावा लगता है। सरोकारों का मुखौटा वह जरूर पहन लेता है ताकि उससे उसके बारे में भ्रांतियां बनी रहें। दूसरे उद्योगों की तरह मीडिया भी आज एक उद्योग का रूप धारण कर चुका है, जिसका उद्देश्य अधिकाधिक धन कमाना है। निष्कर्ष के रूप में कहा जा सकता है कि निसंदेह मीडिया का यह विकृत रूप चिंतनीय है। आधुनिकता और लोकप्रियता की अंधी दौड़ में मीडिया को अपने उद्देश्यों व सामाजिक सरोकारों से भ्रमित नहीं होना चाहिए। मीडिया सामाजिक, आर्थिक, सांस्कृतिक विकास के प्रभावी तंत्र के रूप में अपनी भूमिका का विश्लेषण करे और महिलाओं के उत्थान व विकास में योगदान दे। अपनी प्रभावकारिता व गुणात्मक निष्पादन क्षमता से जन सामान्य का सकारात्मक मार्गदर्शन करे, तभी इसका औचित्य सिद्ध होगा। मीडिया को अपने सामाजिक दायित्वों का निर्वहन करने के लिए अधिक प्रतिबद्धता से कार्य करना होगा। केवल सूचनाओं की भरमार और आकर्षक एवं उत्तेजनापूर्ण कार्यक्रमों व समाचारों से इतर मानवीय संवेदनाओं को तृप्त करने वाले की भूमिका में आकर सामाजिक सरोकारों से स्वयं को और अधिक गंभीरता से जुड़ना होगा। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद।